Hi, welcome back to Shutterbug Club. I'm your host, Sue, and today I'm chatting with Christina. Hi, Christina.
Hello, Sue.
I'm so excited that you're here. Honestly, Christina is somebody who I've loved her work for so long, and she has a very unique approach to photography. I would say, honestly, I've never seen another like package or offer or experience like the one you provide. She really focuses on creating a whole experience rather than just focusing on the images themselves. Which, if you've listened to this podcast, you know we love that, focusing on the experience. And so I'm really excited to talk to Christina and just kind of break down what it is she does and hear about her process and her inspiration and her stories. So, Christina, can you start by just kind of explaining a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, thank you for having me to talk about this. It's a really beautiful time in my career to chat about this because I'm closing this big, long chapter that I've had here in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is where my entire approach to art was formed and created. And it's so sweet to hear you say that like you haven't seen anything like it, and it's probably because like I I did not model it after anything. It was something that really, like, emerged over time and chose me. I will say, like, my if I was to define myself, I would say that I'm first a space holder and second an artist. I use art as a medium to hold space for people and their journeys and their becoming process. And so I call it embodiment photography, and it's really I feel like it's been a process of allowing over many years because I started out doing weddings and family photos and
Mhm.
all the things that you're supposed to do,
Yep.
especially in Utah. And like I remember like when I first went full time, like I just got the feedback over and over again. They're like, Christina, it's too saturated. Like you can't create here, like
Mhm.
it's silly to think that you can create here. And yeah, I'm really glad I didn't listen, and I feel that over the years, as I went on my own growth journey and development process, I had these experiences with people where my approach just changed and shifted and shifted and shifted, and I started to allow what naturally was wanting to happen in these sessions. I started to create containers for them purposefully instead of just experiencing, the natural exchange. Because I feel like we all carry such unique frequencies, and like we're going to bring things out of people based on who we are and how we see the world and operate. I was having these experiences with people that were so much more than a photo shoot, and I just started to gear everything towards that and really carve my own path for what it means to
Wow.
be an artist.
Yeah, wow, there's honestly so much we could unpack there alone, but I'm really curious to know a little bit more about your embodiment photo package or like photography and kind of can you break down what exactly that is and maybe like how you got into doing that because you talked about like these containers for the people you were working with. Is this typically like one-on-one working with people or can you maybe just explain what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my work is one-on-one primarily, and I have different packages for different purposes. Like my base portrait package, kind of the entry point into my world, is a 1-hour session. There's a embodiment meditation before each session and like a space curated through that meditation and that channeled connection with the client. And like the minimum amount of things that I want to do with each person is I want their shoot to be based on who they truly are. And so with each person, I'm connecting with them on Zoom before we sign anything, before we agree to working together, because even at my very like my most entry point way of working with me, I want it to be incredibly tailored to who that person truly is and to fit into their growth process as they're evolving as humans. And so, like, to give some context of, like, what that could look like, I'm working to help either tell the story of where they've been, or I find that I'm also helping people create a new identity, like, helping them step into a new way of viewing themselves. And my intention with any project is to find the core of what someone wants to feel and build everything around that. The location, the wardrobe, the like, how we're moving and posing and the movement, like, all of it is based around how someone would like to feel.
Wow,
So
that's so beautiful. I love that.
thank you. Yeah, that's my very base package, but I over the years, one of the sessions that has like become really fond for me is called a self-love experience, and it's week-long process where they have an entire inner journey that is crafted for them to prepare for the experience of being seen, that has things like yoga and different like rituals and quests in their life. And so they are preparing for a week before we ever meet up. And then on the day that we're meeting up, it's a full day experience where we have a massage therapist come in, we cook and share a meal together, we ground into our bodies through yoga or some other type of movement, and we really connect as humans and artists before I ever take my camera out of the bag. And so those sessions are kind of an extension of really what I'm here to do, which is hold really massive space for someone to unwind how they think they should present themselves and find a truer embodiment where they can share what's actually alive inside their system as they're being photographed instead of like slapping the mask on and like being what they think they should be.
Wow, yeah, that's so beautiful. I love hearing about your process in more depth. So I love how you say you hop on a call with these people and you base the whole photo shoot around what it is they want to feel. Would you mind breaking down some of these questions that you ask on this call? Because maybe you don't really know this person yet. Like, how do you really get them to open up and tell to you what it is that they want from this session?
You know, I feel that it starts a long time before the session, before the Zoom call. It starts with how I show up online and the vulnerability that I bring to my own presence on the internet. Because yeah, if you're going in cold and you have no idea who this person is, like as humans, our tendency is to guard what's sacred to us and to make sure that the other person across from us is actually worthy of receiving that sacred information. So I would never expect someone to reveal themselves to me without me first revealing myself to them. And so I feel that like through years of social media content creation, I have built trust with potential future clients by giving them points to relate to and talking about my own process and my own journey and making art about me. I've done so many self-portraits and created, and I also tell a lot of stories from past clients. Like I give people examples of the type of work that I'm actually here to do, and so by the time we hop on a Zoom call, it's already warm, and then with each person, it's different, like, I'm responding to the energy that's in front of me, I don't have a script, it's not the same questions every time at all, like, with each person, I'm doing my best to meet them where they're truly at and to uncover together what their desires are, and so it's like it's not like dating, but it's kinda like dating.
Okay, yeah.
Like, it's like we're tapping in with each other and building that trust and, like, seeing where we can connect, and then I just invite I provide invitations for people to open up, and then I validate what they say, and I reflect it back to them, and then I ask another question.
Oh, that's so good. I love that. I love that you said it's like dating too, because you even said that, like, you cook a meal together, like, you guys are going on a date, even though it's not like a traditional date, you're just, like, making space for them, like you said, which is really cool. Would
Yeah.
you say you get a lot of inquiries through Instagram?
Yeah, I would say Instagram is my main
Okay, I
source.
mean, that's also where I found you, so makes sense. And then you add all of these super creative elements and like props and set design and all of that. And I think that's so incredible because you're doing what a lot of people can't do. Like, I feel like so many photographers love that side of photography. It's like they want to do just like the creative aspect of it, but a lot of people won't pay for that because it's not, like, traditional, you're not celebrating a milestone like family photos or, like, senior photos or something, so it can be difficult to find that kinda work because people almost feel like, "I can't book a photo shoot just for myself, like, that's selfish," and so it's really cool that you're able to show these people that they can do it. Have you gotten any kind of, like, pushback there?
Well, it's funny. It's definitely not something that most people wake up and they're like, "You know what I need? I need a full day with a really open-hearted person where I can, like, let my walls down and learn how to unmask and truly embody myself so that I can then take photos and actually see myself reflected in them." Like, nobody's waking up and saying that. It's not something that people are, like, typing into Google and looking for, and,
Yeah.
like, has that made my pathway more challenging? Yeah, like, every trailblazer that is doing something different has to educate about what the fuck they are doing and why they're doing it and what type of space they're creating and what the invitation is. Like, I feel that 70% of my job is educating on the human experience and what it means to be seen and what is possible in that realm, especially in the culture that I am in currently in Salt Lake City, Utah. There is there like I haven't talked about this because I've been living here, but now that I'm moving out of state, I'm moving to Northern California. Now that I'm moving, I just feel this like, expression that wants to happen where I wanna, like, have a frank conversation about Utah and, like, there's so much masking and performing and apologizing here. There's, like and I know that this is, like, widespread, and as a culture, we have so far to go on creating the space in our society to actually meet each other eye to eye and have honest conversations, but I've never experienced anything quite as intense as Utah's culture around this. There's so much shame just baked into the soil here, and I felt that so much, like, the reason why I first started to ask the questions about, like, what could be possible with this is because I was showing up to shoots again and again and again, and I because I'm a deeply sensitive feeling person that, like, feels other people's emotions sometimes deeper than they're willing to feel them. Like, that's how I'm designed. It's always how I've been. Because I'm that way, like, I feel the anxiety in my client's body. I
Mm.
feel the tension, the stress, the expectation of self. I felt that so deeply, and I felt like I had this warped view when I first started taking photos where I thought, "Okay, my job is to help this person hide from their insecurities. My job is to show them a photo that eases their anxiety and that helps them not hate themselves so much." Like, and that's how I was responding to the energy that was already there. And then I changed my own relationship to being seen, to showing up. And then I started to lead instead of follow my clients' energy. I'm not mirroring back to you what the anxiety that you're coming with. I'm creating a space that's big enough for you to feel that, express it, and alchemize it into something else.
How did you kind of start to step into that role of feeling seen yourself?
Yeah, my journey with that starts really young. I felt really invisible for a lot of my life and very repressed, like, grew up in a very repressed culture, very religious culture. And as a queer person, I was not allowed to be that. That was not okay, not accepted. And it really shoved me deeply into hidden places. And I was very, very masked and very hurting and in so much pain. I was my early, like, late teens, early 20s, it felt like my entire world was falling apart because I was allowing myself to be seen as something other than what other people wanted me to be. And it was this great crumbling that really was so formative for me in a lot of ways. And yeah, and then, I think that my path has been very defined by relationships. where, some people will look at their past relationships and be like, "Oh yeah, that person was so horrible for me. That person was, the worst." And I used to say that too, but now I say that person was a perfect mirror for the amount of dysregulation that I had in my body. Like, I had so many relationships that mirrored to me the way that I was not showing up in my fullness, the way that I was betraying myself for other people, putting myself away, hiding. I really spent a lot of time with myself and with this concept of being seen and being heard and being felt because it's my deepest desire. And I I think it's a lot of people's deepest desire is to feel valued and feel like there's a space for them in this world where they can actually be known. And so because it's my deepest desire, I followed that thread and I went through all of the pain of being unseen and feeling trapped within myself. And I showed up in that process again and again and again through many different modalities, photography being one of them, to find out who I am, what I'm made of, and if I'm willing to really be myself in this lifetime. And yeah, I found that I am. And that over those relationships, like the the community that I would build with one state of awareness and consciousness and self-love would crumble when I really set new boundaries and stepped up into a new level of self-love, and then a new state, new community, a new group of friends or partner would form in this new level of worthiness, and then it would crumble again. And like there's this beautiful evolution of the soul in that way, that we are mirrored externally what we are holding within. And I'm at this place in my life where I truly washed up in Utah. I'm from San Diego originally, but like I came to Utah early 20s in the midst of this like breakdown moment. I washed up on Utah and I'm in this place of overflowing out of it with the love of my life, my partner, close friends, moving to live communally on a mountaintop in Northern California. Like I'm being reflected by the universe, the amount of work that I've put in.
Would you say that a lot of the clients who come to you have this pain and,
Yeah.
like, this feeling?
Yes.
Can you share a story about a client you've worked with who you really just seen the process and the transformation with them?
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many stories I could share. Um, yeah, there's one that stands out as one of the most intense spaces I've held for someone. Um, it was actually someone that I'd worked with, someone I'd had spiritual allyship with before this happened in his life. He was Okay, so the story that I'm about to share has elements of violence and betrayal within a romantic relationship, as well as like physical harm. And I'm telling this story to bring light to the darker parts of humanity and how art can find us even in these extreme amounts of pain and can meet us there. So if this story isn't something that is suitable for you right now, whoever's listening, I just encourage you to skip forward about 4 or 5 minutes. Okay. So this person is a very special psychic medium, very intuitive soul that I had had a relationship with, of me going to him for support. And he was in a partnership that was tumultuous, but he thought that it was good. And he had an experience where he did a plant medicine ceremony with his partner, and his partner drugged him with LSD without him knowing, and then pushed him off a roof, and he fell 20 feet and hit the floor and
Oh.
had like 2 years of recovery. And this person like left his life and abandoned him and like literally moved states. And so this person that I'd had connection with is now going through this unthinkable pain of losing a love and being betrayed on such a level that it impacts the entire body. And like he shouldn't have survived, but he did. And 2 years after his experience, 2 years after the date of his accident, which wasn't an accident, but that's how it was framed, we sat down and filmed a 2-hour podcast and told his entire story, and then did a series of photo shoots that showcased the pain that he went through, and then told the story of a phoenix rising from the ashes into his life, like into his life post this horrific thing that truly would have like with so many people would have altered them in a way that they can't ever share joy again, like, can't ever connect again with another human being, and I've gone to watch through art and through his own devotion to his spiritual practice that he has risen into an even happier and more embodied and more truthful person, and so stories like that really, like, paint the picture of, like, where art can actually meet us. Like, yes, it can meet us in these happy moments when we are getting married, when we have a baby, like, these societally orchestrated moments of celebration, and it can also meet us in our own personal journeys in really profound ways through grief, through pain, and through a regaining of a new sense of self. Photography can help us see ourselves in new ways and form new pathways and new places of connection with the self.
Yeah, that's so cool. You're really taking these pains and turning them into art, turning them into something that's better than what it was and like a way to relive the experience, but in a new way.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, just helping people really come out of it and find a new perspective with it. So that's really
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, and obviously, like, that experience was really, like, the furthest extreme of the human
Yeah.
experience, like, I share that one because it paints a picture of how deep the human pain can really go and, like, that art can meet us even there, but I also wanna just, like, contextualize that most of my shoots are for people who are coming out of a breakup, or they are, like, going on a spiritual journey to find deeper levels of truth within themselves, or they're turning a different birthday, like, maybe they're turning 30 or 40 or 50, and they're, like, wanting to celebrate these milestones in their life, and to what you said earlier about, like, yeah, most people only book the shoot for the wedding, like, my whole my whole message is, like, your story is so worthy of celebrating, whether it's graduating from high school or, a new job or a new move to a new place, like, all these things change us so much, and if we don't slow down in life to really hold these experiences and tend to them, we can sometimes, like, reach later ages and feel like our life has kind of flown by without us really celebrating it. And so that's what I'm here to do is, like, along that journey of becoming, I'm here to meet and celebrate people where they're at through art and through space holding.
Yeah, that's so good, and such an important point to make, like, it doesn't have to be this crazy thing, it can be something that everyone experiences, like a breakup, because that can be really challenging, and especially when you're in it, it feels like there's no way out, like, you can just get so depressed, and so that's really cool that you do offer a space for people to go through that, and I'm really curious what you found in creating this whole experience with, like, the meditation and the cooking and the connection. How does it feel when you get to the photo shoot part itself? Do you feel that they're comfortable being in front of the camera?
Yes. It's day and night. Like, it's absolutely day and night getting to spend a few hours with someone, regulating our nervous systems together. It's so incredible to see the way that people, when they truly feel safe, when they truly feel the spaciousness, not just through the words that I'm saying, but through my own internal spaciousness that I've curated within my own body. When they are around that, our energies are always impacting each other and connecting with each other. And so we respond to what's in front of us. The listener of a story changes what the storyteller actually says. Like, we have such a deep impact with each other. And so I feel this deep gratification from watching what happens with a person when they are truly safe, because all these parts of them start to emerge to be seen. They're like, wait, I want to be seen too. Like, wait, this space is big enough for me. So I'm going to come forward and I'm going to share myself and I'm going to show up here, even if it surprises me. Because I often see that as well. Like, people saying, like, I wasn't planning to share that, or I wasn't planning to express that. But it's really beautiful when that happens.
You use the word when they feel safe, and I'm curious, why do you think it's so vulnerable for people to be photographed, like in a typical photo shoot when they haven't gone through this experience? Is it because they don't feel safe?
I think that there's a lot of different reasons. I think there's a lot of pressure on being photographed, a lot of pressure to have it turn out the way that we hope, the way that we've seen represented online. I also think that there's this element of like, as humans, we look for cues of safety and we look for cues of acceptance before we really allow ourselves to be ourselves for most of us. Not all of us, but especially people that are more inward, that are more like internalizers of their experience rather than externalizers. Deeply sensitive people, deeply feeling people, like
Can you
they,
explain that a little bit? Being internalized and externalized, what do you mean by that?
yeah. So this actually comes from a framework from a book called The Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. And I really enjoy this framework because I don't think it's universally true, but I think it's a helpful one to look through. She writes about how most people that come from emotionally immature homes, which is like a large majority of humanity, either become internalizers where they anything that happens to them, they're going to go inward first and look within themselves for the answer, for the solution. They're like very self-sourcing and they can sometimes struggle to ask for help or even like express themselves. Like just think of anyone you know that like, would rather go process something alone before coming back to the conversation. They're likely an internalizer, and these people tend to have like really big inner worlds and need time and space to process those inner worlds by themselves. And then externalizers are people who tend to take whatever is going on inside of them and bring it outside immediately. They're the loudest one in the room. They're the most expressive one in the room. The one that you're like, how do you like not have that same like, threshold of like willingness to share? And typically externalizers can tend to look for the solution outside of themselves. So the problem is not ever them. The problem is like their boss. The problem is their partner. And so they tend to source the solution outside of themselves as well. Those people can really benefit from, like, I think both sides of it can really benefit from integration and, like, if you're an internalizer, saying the hard thing, like bringing the truth and like letting it fall off your lips. And if you're an externalizer, maybe listen for a bit longer than you would normally. Maybe wait until the other person has completely stopped talking and then breathe and then start speaking.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Um, I'm trying to think. Sorry, I completely interrupted you. What were you saying about the internals and externalizers?
Let's see.
I'm like, what thread did we just get off of?
Yeah, I think I was just speaking to, like, most people when especially if they are a bit more of an internalizer,
Okay.
they have this deep inner world. When they go to an experience of being seen, it can take some coaxing or just like cues from the environment that they will be safe in their sharing, that this is a space that actually has room for them, which is like one of the reasons why I don't offer mini sessions. I don't offer something where you have 15 minutes, come take your photo, go. Like I don't do
Mhm.
that. And I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore because while I think that has a place, some people are very comfortable in front of the camera and they're looking for 5 photos really quick, maybe for a holiday card. Like it absolutely has a place in the world of photography, but it doesn't have a place in my world because that's not what my art is for. My art is for an experience where there's actually space to feel the experience while you're having it. So I've geared my whole business towards that intention.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that about mini sessions too, because I feel like that's just expected in the photography world. Like, I'll have people come to me who love the output of my photos and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, but I just want like a short mini session." I'm like, "No, I don't do mini sessions because you're not gonna get the same results."
Yes.
And
Yes,
yeah.
yes. They're looking at the best photo. Like, I feel this so much. I do a lot of, like, 2-hour, 3-hour sessions. They're looking at the best photo that we got after being in a flow state for an hour together, and they're
Mhm.
like, "Do that for me in 20 minutes." And it's like, "Honey, the first 15 minutes, you probably are gonna feel pretty awkward. Like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be there yet." Like, it takes time both to let ourselves feel comfortable, but also for artist and subject to get into a flow together.
Yeah, no, that's so good. When you're going through the whole experience of the photo shoot with somebody and you're like hanging out with them, meditating, cooking, whatever, are you talking about the things they're struggling with, or how does the conversation kind of flow there to get them even more opened up?
Yeah, so for the self-love experience specifically, which is the one where we're cooking together, it's an event in someone's life. It's people choose it for these like, I'm thinking of a woman who chose it for her 40th birthday, and basically what I'm doing is offering pure friendship and pure openness to someone who I don't know. And so it's really fascinating because I think in a lot of ways what I am doing is being a friend and being like a mirror, being a curious and non-partial party that is coming in with a ton of like space within my own self. And like, to give context, like I don't plan anything for at least the full day before these, because as someone who, like, yes, is very sensitive, has like psychic type senses, like I feel someone's emotions and their personality and what they need starts coming through at least 24 hours before in really strong ways. And I've learned to like not schedule anything because like I'm thinking of one client I had where with each of these sessions, I'm making them a personalized bouquet. That I love floral arranging, and I love like taking someone's personality and turning it into a floral work of
That is
art.
so cute. I love that.
And, I'm thinking of this one self-love experience I had where I'm at the floral shop picking out the stems that I wanna work with, and I go to reach for the roses, and I hear this voice in my head, and it says, "Peonies. Go to the peonies." And I was like, "Okay." And then it became really insistent. It was like, "You have to do peonies." And I was like, "Okay." And so I grabbed the peonies, and I grabbed some other things, and then later that night, as I'm, like, preparing emotionally for this session the next day, this person, her ancestors start to come through and, like, start to speak. And so I grab a piece of paper and a pen, and I just write her this entire letter that's not from me, but from her ancestors. And then the next day, I meet up with her, and she's from a lineage of witches, and her grandmother had who's passed, her grandmother had an entire yard full of peony flowers, and it was one of their favorite things to connect on together, is that every time my client would go over to her grandma's house, her grandma would let her pick one peony flower. And so I asked her, I was like, "Is your grandma, like, really insistent and, like, a bit pushy?" And she was like, "Yep, that's her." Like, so it's like I'm creating the space to within my own self, which is where it all starts. Like, I cannot do this work if I insist on a busy life where I don't have time to care for myself. Like, I cannot do this work if I jam pack my schedule and try to do so many of them in a certain amount of time. Like, I truly take the art of holding space very seriously because I'm opening myself up to be a vessel for what the
Mhm.
universe wants to share with this person. And each person has a different amount of openness to that. And so with some people, it's just a frequency of pure friendship. And then with other people, it's much more of like a spiritual allyship where I am clearing out all of my stuff so that there's room for messages and truth to come through for this person.
Yeah, that's so good, and I love that you said you take a whole day before to really let yourself feel that, because for my thoughts, or for somebody who maybe doesn't feel as emotionally attached or, like, connected to things like that, they might be thinking, "Well, like, I can't do something like this," but I feel like I feel that when I do take the time on, like, not such a deep level, but it's like when I do set aside the whole day to really plan for this session, it's almost like I uncover these things about this client that they had told me that I remembered, like, subconsciously, and it's like I allowed myself to really think about it and really, like, think about what they would want, and then because of that, I am able to make it more personalized to them, and so it's like, you just do this by creating that space, and so
Mhm.
that's really cool that you shared that story, I love that. Can you share a little bit more into your process, like, what it looks like when somebody hops off this call with you? What kind of, like, resources do you send them or things to get them prepped for everything they're about to go through?
Totally. Yeah. Well, with each client, I we have a conversation where we're connecting about their inner journey. and then their desires and their visual preferences. And then afterwards, I go into my own internal space, which is where I'm very much on the internalizer side of it, kind of, yeah. It's really, yeah, I've done a lot of work to be able to externalize myself, but I'm very much an internalizer. And so I take what I'm hearing outside of myself, and then I retreat into my own creative, nonverbal space where I'm really, like, sitting with the energy that was shared, and then I will craft the vision. And some people come to me with more of a strong idea, some people are just coming to me with a desire to work with me, and so I'm pulling inspiration, pulling resources for that specific person that I'll send them in a pitch where they can look through, and like some shoots are more story based, some shoots are more visually oriented. And so if it's a typical client, they will agree to the 1 hour session. And then from that point, I'm acting more of like a stylist and consultant on visual aspects. And, I'm doing online shopping for them. We're finding the right look. We're finding all the location, any vendors that are going to be a part of it as well. And then I show up to the shoot, and we have that uh meditation, which is a very important part of the process for me. And then we get into shooting and we take it from there. And then if it's more of a self-love experience, a longer thing, I'm taking what we talked about on the call and I'm turning it into like a multi-page document with different invitations, quests, and offerings for that person. Yoga sessions, breath work, meditations that all have moved through me and been of benefit. And I just collect these resources and compile them, as well as like journal prompts to help that person go deeper into their own process. And then I'm also obviously working as a stylist as well to help them actually bring the visual aspects of it to life.
Wow, that's so cool. You're so involved in every single step. I would love to talk a little bit about like the business and money side of this. And I was kind of curious too. You said you do like online shopping and like style them
Mhm.
and work with other vendors. When it comes to the money, are you just like sending them recommendations of like what to wear? And then are you recommending vendors or do you kind of include that in the experience?
Yeah, most of the time I'm recommending things and sending them links that they can either choose into or not choose into. So yeah, they're paying for the experience of the photography, the visual concept curation, and the styling support. But it's like those added, like the wardrobe, the makeup, those are all additions to the session.
Okay. And how do you, like, price yourself where you feel like it's worth it to you because you are putting so much time and energy into this? And so, obviously, it's gonna be more than just, like, your typical photo session, so how do you kind of compensate for that?
Yeah. Um, so my prices have changed over the years. I for a long time had a really hard time valuing truly like the amount of work and intention that I put in. And then just like with time and also with my skills getting a lot better, you get to this point where you've like I'm in my 500s of photo shoots. Like I've done hundreds and hundreds of photo shoots, and my intention with each one is to do my very best. And it sounds simple, but if you really carry that intention into your work, you will improve exponentially because each time you're challenging yourself to do the best that this version of you can do, which is more sometimes than the last version of you could do. And so you're continually improving. And I think that like it was several things that kind of came together to help me raise my prices. It was learning studio lighting. That was a big one. Like it's a skill set. It's
Mhm.
like something that not everyone can do, especially like I was getting into mixing different forms of light, and like I'm not just using like LEDs, I'm also using strobe lights, mixing slow shutter techniques, and like I started to really study my craft as well as like getting really good at post process. So it was the process of like getting exponentially better at the results that I was producing and gathering more and more social proof, reviews and storytelling sessions with people where I'm documenting their story and telling it. So I was gathering social proof, gathering skills, and then I got to a place where my prices were still like around they were on, like, a very, like, typical level, and, like, I wanna clarify what that means. Like, in the marketplace, like, they were probably, like, if 1 is, like, I'm completely undervaluing myself, and 10 is, like, a luxury photographer that is working with, like, mainly actors and stuff like that, like, I was maybe around, like, a 4, like, I was valuing myself enough to, like, charge $500. But
Mhm.
I got to this place where with what I was actually promising people, like, the type of transformation I was offering, I got to this place and it was one sentence that got me to actually raise my prices to what I deserve, which is, "I am ruining my credibility by charging this low." Like,
Mhm.
I cannot come in saying that I am providing something that can truly be life-changing and then offer what someone that is literally just, like, grabbing the camera, taking the photos, like, slapping a preset and sending them off is doing. Like, I'm ruining my credibility. And that was a really interesting experience for me, and I doubled my prices.
Oh,
Um
that's so good. Wow. I love that you mentioned that. Yeah, and honestly, I love that you mentioned it took you a while to really realize all of the work that you're putting into it. One thing I've learned this year is specializing in something. It's like you put so much work into perfecting your craft, like you said. And it's like for those photographers who do everything, like they do families, seniors, babies, creative stuff, they are missing out because they can't specialize in one thing where they're able to perfect the craft in just that one thing. And so I'm kind of going on a similar journey right now with working with seniors. And it's just really cool that you mentioned like to really is devaluing your work because you are providing this incredible experience and like transformation, but you're able to do that because you've put in the hours and the time. And so I love that you mentioned that.
Thank you. How's your senior portrait, like, niching down going? What are you finding with that?
I mean, it's been a challenge, that's for sure. So I did raise my prices and stuff too because I'm focusing more on like the experience. And so I've found that a lot of people are just like kinda like you said earlier, you have to educate them. Like, your clients aren't waking up just saying like, "Oh, I want this whole self-love experience." And so I'm finding that, like, clients don't really understand why we have to go through all of this, like, why they're getting fashion consultation and, like, prints at the end and why it's gonna be so much, like they're like, "Oh, I know this photographer down the road who charges $300 and I get 100 images with them, like, why don't you do it like them?" And so, yeah, just, like, really educating them has been what I've learned the most.
It's beautiful. Congrats on valuing yourself.
Thank you. So, how did it feel to you the first time that somebody invested in, like, maybe after you raised your prices?
It was really exciting. It was really exciting because specifically, like, the self-love experience was the first thing that I offered truly at a higher price point, like, something much more extensive that asked a lot more of me and that was completely unasked for, you know what I mean? That like I said, no one's
Mhm.
asking for it. So, like, it was definitely very vulnerable to offer something that was so true to who I was, but I into what I actually wanted to experience with people, and that was given to me by source, that was intuited and channeled instead of, like, brainstormed and like, contrived. So, yeah, I it was a very big leap for me to launch something that had never been done, had no one's offering this,
Yeah.
and I just remember, like, promoting it, and I was in the bathtub, actually, like, candlelight, having a little self-date with myself and, like, talking about the why behind this project on my Instagram story, and someone messaged me and they were like, "Fuck it, I'm in." And they were in New York City, they flew me out for the project, and we had this amazing time together and, like, all of these synchronicities, and I truly felt this, like, deep level of spirit support in what I was offering and this deep confirmation of what I was doing and the power of slowing down and the power of telling the truth of what it is that I really wanna do with people. I had this experience on the flight home from this trip where the plane was taking off and I was in a deep meditative state listening to music, and I just felt like I was shown they brought this camera into my mind's eye, and they showed me they're like, "Cameras are made of mirrors and light. and your soul is made of reflection and light, and this is why you've chosen this medium in this lifetime. Like, this is why you've chosen this tool to be the storyteller and witness that you are in this world to help people heal and know themselves. And it was this confirmation on this very deep level of the work that I'm doing and the impact that it can have. And yeah, that was the first of many experiences that I've gotten to have. And it's really amazing to like keep up on those connections too, like these real relationships that I've formed. And now that I'm leaving Utah, like I feel really sentimental about just all that I've gotten to create here. Like, it's a spectacular life to get to tell stories and really know people beyond what they present to the outer world.
That is so cool, the fact that she flew you to New York City too. Have you ever offered any kind of, like, artwork or prints?
You know, I like, when I send galleries, they have an option to purchase prints always,
Mhm,
but I haven't included that as part of my packages, mostly because I feel that, like, yeah, like, I want people to pick their own favorites and their own, but it's not something I've really seriously considered. I think probably a part of that is, like, just my ADHD brain of, like, as simple as I can make it, where I'm taking out things that are, like, barriers to me wanting to show up to work,
mhm.
the more I can actually, like, be available for the work that I truly wanna do, and it's just never called to me, so I haven't done it.
Okay. Yeah, I was really curious about that because that's something I'm dabbling right now in is like the artwork. And I found this whole other emotional experience when you see your photos printed for the first time. And so I'm kind of like trying to create something that's like a confidence project, is like what I'm calling it a little bit, where it's like this whole journey experience, but then also artwork is a big part of it. And so I was just curious because I feel like that could be something really powerful too. But I mean, I know that's not for everyone, but I was curious what your thoughts were.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's really, I love that. Like, that's so special. I'm sure there will be people that will really love that.
What do you hope that people who work with you carries with them after your session together?
I hope they carry a new energetic signature in their body of what it feels like to be deeply seen and accepted for who they are, because that's really what the transmission is. And the photos are just this like beautiful cherry on top of that, like, body knowing and that experiential learning. 'Cause yeah, that's what I want them to take forward, because once you are able to allow yourself to be seen, a whole world of you, like, opportunities really can open up for you.
Yeah.
And also, like, something I say a lot is that relational wounding requires relational healing. And so all the times where you have been in a relationship where you were unseen, where you were invisible, where maybe you really struggle to be loved for who you are, like, those, the body carries those memories, and we can do all of the self-love work that we want, but there are some things that can only be healed relationally because the wound is relational. And that's what I'm here to do with people, is to hold an energy of worthiness within myself and to create a space for them to choose to step into that frequency and heal all the things that have stopped them from feeling worthy, from feeling able to share themselves. And because that's to me, that's what life is about, being able to share and receive love. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I want for people.
I love that you said too how being seen can really unlock so many opportunities for you because that's true in so many ways. And I'm sure you've noticed it yourself, even in like social media. It's like the people who are vulnerable enough to put themselves out there and like share their story, share whatever it is they're trying to accomplish, they get more opportunities. And so, what would you say to somebody who really wanted to book this type of session with you, but they're just afraid? Like there's something holding them back.
Mm, I would say that, it's, like, not very capitalist of me to say, "Don't do something you don't wanna do," like, so much marketing is gonna be like, "Do it anyways," but, like, maybe you're not ready, and me saying that, what do you feel in your body? Do you feel disappointment? Do you feel a feeling of, "Wait, but I am?" Like, what do you Like, I don't sell people. I don't, like, coerce people into packages with me. This is something that is self-volunteered, and it's something that will not have the same impact if they're not wanting it, ready for it. Like, I've had people sign up with me, pay all of the money, and then ghost me for years, and then
Oh,
come back and be like, "I'm so sorry. I was not ready. I'm ready now." And then I shot with them. Like,
wow.
I don't push people into this experience. And as far as, like, booking with me, I would hope that you would only do it if you felt a quiet feeling in your body that this was for you. And as far as booking with any photographer, like, let's say you're just wanting an experience of being seen and you're looking, you're shopping around, I would just say that, like, be careful who you choose as your mirror and have a conversation with them. No one should ask for hundreds, thousands of dollars from you without being willing to have a conversation with you. Have a conversation with them and see how they hold themselves in that conversation, how they hold the container for you in that conversation, and trust your body because your body knows way more than your mind.
I love it. Can you share something you're excited looking forward to with your business?
Yeah. I now offer purely space holding without any images, like
Oh.
truly, like over Zoom or in person here in Utah, and then I'll be in Northern California in Mendocino area. But I offer space holding purely to hold space now, which is really exciting because I love photography so, so much, but not everyone wants to have their photo taken right now. Like,
Mhm.
not everyone wants that experience, and I want to hold space for the full human experience, which is something I'm really excited about because part of what I'm doing in this move to Northern California is I'm joining a team of people who are doing grief work. So holding space for the human emotion of grief. And it's going to be really exciting and amazing and beautiful because, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, I'm first a space holder and second a photographer. And so I'm really excited to have opportunities to deepen that practice of holding people in big ways that have nothing to do with having your photo taken. I'm also just really excited to get into photographing the Pacific Northwest more. Mama Earth has been speaking to me about coming there for many years, and so I'm very excited to work with people in that region, just continuing my own journey of being a depth seeker and a truth teller and seeing where that leads me and what beautiful people I get to meet along the way like you, Sue. Thank you
Aw.
for this opportunity to connect with you and to talk about these things in such a frank and honest way because it's really the only thing I'm interested in. So, thank you for holding that space for me to share about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and truly like holding that container for the sharing of like the deep personal reasons why I do this work. It means a lot to have the opportunity to share that with other people because I would love to see a world filled with more bravery.
Well, thank you so much for being here. This was such a good episode. And I also wanted to mention too about your like lighting work that you do because I was like looking at your website and stuff. And Christina does incredible work with like studio lighting and how she mentioned like playing around with just like different things. So if lighting is something you're kind of struggling with or wish you knew more about, you should definitely look into what she's got because it's incredible.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do have a mini course available on the electric light stuff that I've been doing specifically, and you can find that by going to my Instagram, Christina's Captures, Christina S Captures. I always have to specify that, but you can find that by going to my Instagram and clicking on the link in my bio, and there is photography education as well.
Yay, thank you so much. And I will include that in the show notes for anyone who wants to go look at that. Thank you so much for being here, Christina.
Thank you, Sue. This was so fun.